Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to the channel. So glad you're here. Today is a great day, guys. Oh my goodness, today is a great day. Do you know why today is a great day? Today's my first day as a full-time YouTuber. That's correct. That is correct. I am now a part-time reporter. I still have two jobs. But I love my day job. I love my day job. And so I couldn't just leave it. I love it so much as a local reporter. And yeah, I report on all sorts of things. One of, well, I can't really get into some of the things that I report on, but man, even in little rural podunk nowhere, Pennsylvania, there are some cases that come through that are just horrifying and heartbreaking. I was talking with Kimberly before we started about one that came across my desk today. It was published about a landlord who, after evicting his tenant, went in to clean up, went into the bedroom of that house and found a suspicious little package, opened it up, and it was the decomposing body of a newborn baby. When police got there, they investigated more around the house and found two more. So this woman is accused, well, she's accused of murdering one child because they can only approve, I guess, prove, or let's say establish probable cause for the one of the three little ones that were murdered in that house. Anyway, so even in podunk nowhere, there are cases that are important to report on. It's not just the huge cases that we all know about. Speaking of huge cases, of course, today we are talking about the murder of Charlie Kirk. Now, you guys know we have the classiest viewers on all of YouTube here. Our live chat is amazing. You guys always keep it on point, and I deeply appreciate just how awesome you are. We're gonna have to like really focus here, okay? Because this is a case that has definitely caught the public's attention. Probably, in my opinion, one, it's a political assassination, not the first of 2025, of course, but it is a political assassination. And two, it happened so publicly with so many cameras rolling. Official cameras of Mr. Kirk, people's cell phones. It was so out in the open that I think it has captured the attention. And it's not to say that other cases aren't worthy of the same attention. For example, in Minnesota, right? But we need to we on my channel we keep things apolitical with very few exceptions. We want to keep things apolitical. And we want to keep things classy in the live chat, which I know you guys will do, especially with the help of Autumn, Mooney, and Robin, who do a terrific job over there. Okay, let me actually just check in with you guys because I see a little. I see somebody has followed the rules. Put GF in your comment. That will help me see it. Puts a little yellow highlighter on it so that I can see it. Joanne says, "What's going on in the world? Has everyone forgotten about birth control or adoption?" Yeah. You know, as Kimberly and I were talking, we were just like, we will take all of them. All of the babies we will take. And we're not the only ones who feel that way. In fact, you know, fire stations and police stations, that no questions asked. It's a, I fear that the case that I was talking about is the case of the victims of drug abuse, drug addiction, and the drug pandemic, or the drug epidemic that swept through this little corner of Pennsylvania starting maybe 20 years ago, close to 30 years ago now. It's just, I, it's just sad. But getting back, let's see if there are any, Jody66 says that she's been sharing the channel with a lot of people. I have a soothing demeanor. Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Let's see what else. Yeah, Tony, here's the thing, Tony, and valid comment. Okay. Again, I try to keep things apolitical. In this case, our victim is he's a political person. He's a politician. While not an elected official, he still is a politician. And so, yeah, the danger here is for us to get political, especially partisanly so. And so what I'm asking of everybody is just understand that we're going to try to remain nonpartisan. Now, having said that, Tony, specifically to your point, a lot of the people that are going to be quoted in the reports and stories that we're going to go over today are politicians and are partisan. And I'm sorry, I just can't get away from it in this. But I think this case is an important case to cover for the reasons that I already said. So, yes, I thank you very much for calling me out on it. I just want to remind all of us, myself included, that you and I, while we may read things that are partisanly political, you and I are going to remain apolitical on this. And I'll probably try to just yada yada over a lot of that stuff. Okay. Now, there is one story that I wanted to start off with, and that is, let's see, let me bring up the right one. It's this one. Okay. So this is a interview that Martha Raddatz on ABC did yesterday with the governor of Utah, a man named Spencer Cox. In my opinion, Governor Cox has been doing a very good job over the course of this. Now, of course, he's a politician. I get it. But I wanted to use this as an example of maybe an example of the better part of our natures. Okay. In this interview, Martha Raddatz baits Governor Cox into this partisan bickering that has taken over our nation for the last many years, and I've been guilty of it too. But I've been trying for the last maybe 4 or 5 years to stop doing that. So she baits him a couple of times, and he does a pretty freaking good job. But also, he has some good information in here. So I want to. This is from ABC News. Martha Raddatz. Here we go.
I'm joined now by Utah Governor Spencer Cox, who has received widespread praise for his response to the shooting this week. Governor, it has been a horrific week. We thank you for your time. I know you heard that report by Matt Gutman and this latest reporting in the New York Times that some of the suspect's acquaintances were allegedly talking to him online and joking and thought they recognized him from those early photos. Can you tell us anything about that this morning or anything further on the investigation?
Well, all we can confirm is that those conversations definitely were happening, and they did not believe it was actually him. It was all joking until he until he admitted that it actually was him.
More came out about this, by the way, in the news today that I'm going to read. We're going to read from the WAPO and from the New York Post. But yeah, there was a Discord server with him and his friends.
And anything new on the investigation? You say he admitted that, confessed?
No, not again. He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating. But all the people around him are cooperating, and I think that's very important. There were reports yesterday that we can confirm that his roommate was indeed a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female. That's information that the FBI had mentioned yesterday. We can confirm that as well, and that he is cooperating with authorities as well.
And Governor, you told the Wall Street Journal that.
Pause here for a second. Yeah, the charging documents are supposed to be coming out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to reading those. We will get a little bit more information as far as it won't be the whole case. It'll just be part of the case, right? But that's what they've said as of Friday, that the charging documents are expected tomorrow. We will probably go live as soon as I get those in my hands.
Tyler Robinson, was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. Have investigators uncovered evidence to show that?
Well, so far that has come from his acquaintances and his family members. That's where that initial information has come from. Certainly, there will be much more information that is released in the charging documents as they're bringing all of that together. Just like to remind people that press conference on Friday, we had been up all night trying to get as much as we could in a very short amount of time. We're collecting much more, including forensic evidence that is coming back from Quantico that will help us tie the shooter to the weapon and everything else. So that's all being processed right now, and there will be much more information on Tuesday when that document is filed with the courts.
So yeah, I mean, there's the confirmation. Again, I don't know what time it'll happen. I would imagine it's going to be pretty early in the day, Mountain Time. The other thing that just came in was, I heard he has a court hearing tomorrow. Yeah, he'll have his arraignment tomorrow, I believe is the deal there.
And Governor, let's go back to Friday and your very powerful words and advice. You said this was a watershed moment that could be a turning point in history, depending on the collective actions. What needs to happen for this to be a good turning point?
Well, right now we're in a dark place. Everybody gets that, I think, and we have choices. And in my political philosophy and in my religious philosophy, we believe in agency, that every one of us gets to make our own decisions. And I think I hate this idea that what a governor says or what the president says, that's what matters more than anything else. It is not. And if we're waiting for a president or a governor of Utah or anywhere else to get us out of this mess, that's just never going to happen. And so
I appreciate those comments a lot, and I think that we talked about this Friday or Thursday. Like we as individuals need to lift ourselves up out of this funk that we are in as a nation. I don't think that we should ever look toward what quote unquote national or state leaders as our, I guess, guiding stars of happiness, morality, ethics. Just as examples of how we should live our life. I don't think we should ever do that. We shouldn't do that with athletes. We shouldn't do that with other celebrities, actors, anything like that. We should be inward looking and always trying to improve ourselves. Now, of course, if you find a good example that happens to be an actor or happens to be an athlete or happens to be a politician, I guess, then great. But I appreciate what he's saying here. Like, who cares what a governor says? Who cares what the president says? We need to individually exercise our agency and decide to be good people.
Every one of us has to make a decision. Are we going to hate our neighbor? Are we going to hate the other side? Are we going to return violence with violence? Or are we going to find a different path? Are we going to get out of those social media, those dark places of the internet where the conflict entrepreneurs reside, who are preying upon us, these companies with trillion-dollar market caps, who are using dopamine, just like fentanyl, to addict us to their product and lead us, again, those algorithms that lead us to more outrage? Can we put that aside? Can we go and serve our fellow human beings? Can we do some good in our neighborhood? Can we hug a family member? Can we talk to a neighbor that we disagree with? That's up to us, and that's the only way out of this. There is nothing else we can do to solve this dark chapter in our history.
And Governor, again, powerful words, but you got a phone call from President Trump.
This is
right
the part where
after
she
you
starts
spoke
debate.
on Friday. What did he say?
This may come as a bit of a surprise to some people, but President Trump was very grateful on multiple occasions during that very long conversation that we had. He thanked me for the press conference, for the words that I said then. He talked about Charlie. He had said publicly that he endorsed Charlie's stance on nonviolence and that we need more of that. And so I was very grateful for the president's call. To be honest, Martha, I don't don't do a lot of national media anymore, and it was the encouragement of the White House that I'm even on this program this morning.
Did he warn you that this type of violence could affect you?
Yeah, he did. I mean, this is a very dark conversation, but he, of course, was almost assassinated, a fraction of an inch away from having this very thing happen to him, and that's what we talked about. These are very dangerous jobs these days, and so it's not lost on us. We're human beings too. President Trump is a human being, whether you love him.
I know
or
this
you
is
hate
getting
him.
really political,
he's
but
he's a human being, and these are very tragic circumstances that impact all of us.
And Governor, just lastly, you immediately talked about.
but I think it's important. Like I know that that's political, but I do think what he's saying is important. That we need to hug our neighbors. You know, we need to like love people who we disagree with, and we just need to lift ourselves out of this.
Democrats who had already been targeted. President Trump said nothing
Again, this is the
about the
bait.
political violence against Democrats. In fact, he blamed the radical left. What's your reaction to that? Is that something you think he should be doing?
Again, here she is baiting. And guys, this is something that is, I guess it's really important to me. Okay, look, there are only a few different levers that marketing professionals can pull. Okay, one of them is like happiness, and the other is anger. Those are the two levers that the two main levers. You know, you can pull the worry lever. There are a couple of other smaller ones, but happiness and anger. And anger is the one that gets the most clicks. And so, you know, we just need to be aware of that and try to find places online where that's not happening to us, I guess. But let's keep going here.
Well, look, President Trump is very angry, and Charlie
And I know this
is
is political,
a close
but
personal friend. There is a lot of anger on the right, on my side of the aisle, and I've certainly felt that. And in this case, it does appear that that's true. Again, more information is coming, and we'll learn more over time. You know, I don't know that matters as much as the radicalization piece. I brought up the Democrats who were assassinated recently, and how quickly we move on from these things. But the body count is piling up, and so I'm so concerned about this radicalization piece, and that's what we're trying to understand. Again, this person made a choice, and it was this person's choice, and this person will be held responsible, and we have to make different choices. And we also have to figure out how it came to be that a kid with a 4.0, with a 34 on the ACT, with a full ride scholarship at my alma mater, who didn't even last a semester, drops out and ends up doing something like this. We need to understand that, and we need to figure out how to stop it.
I'm just going to stop it there. That is maybe the main point, right? Like, kid who gets 34 on his ACT, who gets a full ride scholarship to Utah State University. This is a smart kid, and somehow he got radicalized. Now, I haven't been like all keen on just like showing his face and stuff like this, but I don't feel like he is a person who has been seeking the fame. I think he just really hated Charlie Kirk. So this is Tyler Robinson, the man, 22-year-old man who's been arrested in the murder of Charlie Kirk. But how did that happen? And I think that's very important for us to try to solve as a society. And again, staying apolitical about it and recognizing that this kind of radicalization happens both on the right and on the left. So, yeah, how does a kid who gets a full ride scholarship to a fine university with high marks, just highly intelligent, and drops out after a semester and becomes radicalized enough that he creates a sniper's nest on top of a building and fires successfully 200 yards across a quad full of thousands of people to assassinate a politician in front of everybody? How does that happen? And I think that we've got to answer for that as a society. We got to figure that out. See what you guys are saying over here. Let's see. I need to. So Mel says, I see the Charlie Kirk assassination as a disastrous demonstration of the death of differing opinions and ideas. Yeah, Mel, that is very well written. Um, I I can't tell you how many like. Well, I don't want to put myself as some sort of example, but I want you to know that I have my own personal political beliefs. And I recognize people around me who have differing political beliefs who I deeply care about, who I really love, who I think are awesome, awesome people. And I think that a lot of us have lost that. I hear the word evil bantered around all the time. That person is evil because they believe that. This person over here is evil because they do that. It's just we got to stop demonizing, I think. Others who see the world differently from ourselves. Roberts May Queen agrees with me. Thank you very much. Susan says, I was thinking about the fighting words doctrine as a possible argument, although that shouldn't stretch all the way to unaliving someone, as in them's fighting words. Fighting words doctrine. Let me just look this up, see. The fighting words doctrine is a legal principle. Oh my goodness, Susan, you were so far ahead of me. Holy cow. I was like going back to like, I don't know, the Old West. Them's fighting words. Okay. The fighting words doctrine is a legal principle that allows governments to restrict speech that is personally abusive and likely to provoke an imminent violent reaction from a reasonable person, as established in the 1942 Supreme Court case Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire. These words are considered to fall outside the protections of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution because their immediate effect is to inflict injury or incite a breach of the peace. Yes, and all of my life I've understood that there are certain limitations to our freedom of speech, and certainly inciting to violence is one of those few limitations, right? So Susan again says, I was thinking about the fighting words doctrine as a possible argument, although that shouldn't stretch all the way to unaliving somebody. Jody66 girl says, Gavin, yes, we do. Kindness goes a long way, really. It really does. It really does. I remember, oh my goodness. I don't know if I want to share this. Let me think about this. This is pretty personal. Let me just generally say that growing up, I want to make this general because it is very personal. But let's say, okay, I grew up in a big family. I was the fourth of 5 children. All right. Kimberly, my wife, is the oldest of 9. So you can imagine, especially in homes that aren't huge, just how quickly we would get on top of each other and, bother each other, right? Right. In some cases, on purpose. In other cases, it was just, it was accidental. But anyway, our parents always taught us to, if you really are feeling angry or let's say poorly towards somebody, like you're starting to dislike or hate somebody, that's the moment that you need to turn up your expressions of love for that person. Make them breakfast. Go pick up the paper off the street and put it on the counter. Put your toothbrush away, put their toothbrush away, do little acts of kindness. And the more acts of kindness you do, the more you will love that person. And from my experience, that is 100% spot on. It's 100% spot on. The more you serve somebody, the more you will love them, the more you will like them. And I think that we need that. I think we need that. Jojo says, the thing that saddens me so much about this, it happened on September 10th. What happened on September 11th, 24 years ago? That brought our nation together. How did we become so divided again? Wow, what a great observation. I remember September 11th, 2001 acutely. I had just started a new job. I was working for a small company that did computer repair, technology services, IT services for businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, mostly doctor's office, things like that. And I was ironing my shirt for the day, so I don't like to go out wrinkly. And I got a call from my boss saying, "You got to turn on the TV now." Huh? So yeah, I remember that day acutely. That is right up there with, for me anyway, just being a Gen Xer, the day the Challenger exploded was another one of those days. Anyway, yeah, that did bring us together. The tragedy brought us together. And we were together for quite some time on that. In fact, it still does bring us together. And what's one of the sad parts about this is that September 11th passed with us not even realizing it because we had a political assassination happen the day before. But yeah, we should all go, by the way, to the 9/11 memorial in New York City and here in Pennsylvania. The flight, why am I blanking? Flight 96? Flight 63? I can't remember. Isn't that terrible? I can't remember, but there's a memorial out here in Western PA that's pretty amazing. Yeah, great comment, JoJo. Looks like Autumn is having to delete lots of messages. Let's all be kind, okay? And Robin's doing that too. Okay, Patty, let me. Okay, I'll go ahead and read this, Patty. As apolitical as I can be, I don't care for the ideology of Charlie Kirk and wish his wife would not carry on that mission. The idea that lives should be lost in shootings to keep this. I'm sorry. That I didn't realize that. That one is a little too political for me, Patty. I want to keep it apolitical. Let's see. Man, you guys are making Autumn work. GF93. Wait a minute. Susan, are you from Sacramento? Who said Sacramento Kings earlier? Who said Sacramento Kings earlier? Was that Mel? Or was that Susan? Susan, are you a Sacramento kid? Yeah, 93 is the year I graduated high school. Yes, welcome to... Hey, listen, Robin, listen. I am not 50 for another couple weeks, all right? Not quite. Flight 93. Oh my goodness, I'm having so much. Oh, maybe I am 50. Maybe I am 50. A Flight 93. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Okay. Wow. Brenda, you graduated in 90? Graduated high school? Yes, Flight 93. Thank you. Oh my goodness. You guys are awesome. Okay. Let's go to the next one that I want to show you. The next thing I want to show you. Let's come on over to Acrobat, shall we? This is from today. Wrong button. What am I looking at? I am looking for this. There we go. Okay. This was reported in the New York Times. The New York Post a little earlier today. Tyler Robinson had rabid obsession with Charlie Kirk. Chillingly wrote he had perfect plan to take out the conservative icon, according to the FBI. Tyler Robinson had a rabid obsession with Charlie Kirk and vowed to take out the conservative influencer because he hated his views, boasting he had the perfect murder plan, the FBI revealed Monday. I think it's pretty clear based on the statements of family members, friends, and some of the messaging we have on these digital footprints left behind that Robinson clearly had some obsession with Charlie Kirk. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino told Fox News' America's Newsroom on Monday. Charlie Kirk is obviously a conservative commentator, Bongino said. I think it's fairly obvious to everyone out there. There's no need to parse words in it that clearly this was ideologically motivated attack. Yeah. FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox earlier in the day that Robinson, 22, had even told someone about his heinous plot before he fatally shot Kirk, 31, with a single bullet to the neck in an appearance at Utah Valley University. You know what's funny? I think that actually goes to premeditation. Okay. So, in regards to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and the assassination of Charlie Kirk, they both appear to have gone for headshots, which are the hardest shots. But I think that they would either know or suspect that there might be some Kevlar or something like that protecting the body. So I think that is a greater indication that this young man had premeditated this. He had a text message. This is Patel. He had a text message exchange with another individual in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for, said Patel. Wasn't clear when the seething suspect sent the text, but the accused killer, it doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. The written note, we believe, did exist, and we have evidence to show that it was in that note. The note was written before the shooting, he said. We have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says. Yeah, so this guy was, as in terms of us always trying to learn from these kinds of things, like what do we want to learn here? I don't know, is one of the things that we want to learn that if we see red flags, like if somebody's saying, hey, I've got an opportunity to take out Gavin Fish and I'm going to do it, I would hope that somebody would call 911. I honestly do. And I think it's really easy. I mean, just like playing devil's advocate here and trying to understand the human animal, right? I think it's easy to write those things off as bluster or as, you didn't mean it and, can't take him seriously. I think it's really easy to do that. Just trying to think about if there was a note or if there were text messages saying, hey, I've got an opportunity to do this and I'm going to do it. What would we do? What would I do? What would you do in that case? Pretty tough to know. I did want to show you this. This allegedly is a photo of the gun that was found. Bolt action rifle was recovered near the scene where Kirk was fatally shot, and it says obtained by the New York Post. So it says a bolt action rifle, not the bolt action rifle. So I don't know if that is or if it isn't, but it says obtained by the New York Post. So I think the Post is claiming that that is the gun. Patel said investigators have recently learned some shocking things from Robinson's family and friends, including a transgender boyfriend, while also confirming that the accused killer had increasingly become, let's say, more radicalized. Damning new evidence against Robinson includes DNA recovered from a towel that covered the murder weapon when it was ditched, as well as a screwdriver found in the sniper's nest on the roof of near Kirk's event, Patel said. And I can actually play that for you. It's on, again, I know that like MSNBC and Fox News are political organizations, and I appreciate you guys understanding that because this is politics, we kind of have to. But this was FBI Director Kash Patel talking on Fox News today.
Flexed all resources the FBI had and surged multiple air assets.
At the beginning.
Flexed all resources the FBI had and surged multiple air assets as soon as this shooting occurred. We were cycling in agents, evidence response technicians, hostage rescue technicians, and special operators in and out of Utah, cycling evidence back and forth on these FBI planes as soon as we could so that there was no delay. And what we did, once I got there, along with the deputy on the ground around 5 p.m. local on September 11th, was walk the entire crime scene, including the foots the suspect himself took. And what we learned was there was evidence, DNA evidence that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop. Also, we went over to the scene in the wooded area where the firearm was discarded. And the firearm had a towel wrapped around it. It's important. I'll get back to that later. I even walked into the wooded area in the ravine, so I knew from my investigative experience what I could bring to the table and what decisions I needed to make. And having the support of President Trump and the full support of the White House was what we needed for these resources to happen. And I can report today that
we recognize this is a political person, right? But you and I were staying apolitical about it.
DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
Okay, now we don't know this. We just know that FBI Director Kash Patel is saying this. He's saying that the DNA, well, he says positively processed for the suspect. DNA on a screwdriver found up on the roof and the towel that was apparently laid over the gun. Okay, with that, let me head on over to an article from WAPO real quick, okay? This was just a couple hours ago. What to know as Kirk shooting suspect awaits first court appearance. Actually, before we get into it, let me just check in with what you guys are saying over here. I'm still having a hard time with my whole 93 thing. Yeah, Flight 93. And I graduated, class of 93. Graduated high school, Casa Roble. Somebody mentioned the Kings, though, losing to the Lakers in 2002. That was painful. That was painful. Robin says my brain is pre-gaming. That's funny. Susan is definitely not a Kings fan. You know, it's funny. I'm agnostic on sports, but I do enjoy watching it. Like, I bet it would be way more fun if I really just loved a team. But I do enjoy, especially baseball. I love baseball. Bulls all the way. That's my oldest brother has been a Bulls fan since as long as I can remember. Brenda says, been crazy busy with work, but that hair is glorious. Oh my goodness, Brenda, it is so long. And I have committed to getting to 12 inches before I donate it, but I've found a pretty reputable, I haven't really gone in a deep dive yet. Whichever organization I donate to, I'm going to just really make sure that I feel good about it. But Kimberly found this organization that will take 8 inches, and I am able to donate 8 inches right now. But I think I'm just going to keep going to 12 because that's what I committed to do. And so thank you. I appreciate the comment. I don't like it at all. I do not like it at all, but I'll figure it out. Let's see. Tanya says that is very astute of your, I think you meant parents. Did you know that if you do not like someone and you do favors for them, help them, it is proven that you will learn to like each other? I mean, yeah, there's a very specific person that I want to share about my experience with them, and they are passed away. And they live in another country and speak a different language, but at the same time, it's very personal. So I think I'm going to pass. Tanya, yeah, parents. Okay. Chrissy, yes, premeditated for sure. He was planning it out for a long time. Valerie says, most years I managed to get through 9/11 okay, but this assassination a day before made it very difficult. I had been up the towers several times, and while in Connecticut, we were in lockdown. Oh, Valerie. Wow. I had never been to the World Trade Center, to the Twin Towers. I had never been there before. I'd been to, trying to think, there are a couple of other, well, it doesn't matter. I'd never been to the Twin Towers in New York, and I was all the way on the West Coast. I was in Sacramento, not technically the coast, but you know what I mean, all the way in the West. And so it was far, far, far away. But I do remember deeply how connected we all felt with one another. And we're only 24 years from that. And this is where we are. Pretty tough. Pretty tough. My 16-year-old son accidentally saw the close-up of the shot. I think you're talking about the assassination bullet. Had a long talk with him, sad by his response. It was shocking, but wouldn't say traumatic. Movies could not do that. Yeah, that is sad. The desensitized nature of our children right now. I just want kids to be able to be kids. You know, I wrote a piece. I might want to share it with you guys. Maybe at the end I'll share it with you. I wrote a piece on nostalgia that I've been feeling lately. But let's see, if you guys tell me you want me to do that, I wrote a piece that was published today that I can share with you if you want. But basically what I want to get at is that I'm really grateful that I had a childhood. Like I got to be a child, and like that childhood got to stretch a little bit longer than maybe even a little bit normal. You know, when I was 18, 19 years old, 20, 21 years old, I was still a child and still not exposed to a lot of the ugliness of life. And I'm deeply grateful for it now. I'm just very, very grateful that my parents provided that for me, and my community, the community that we grew up in. You know, I grew up in a place called Orangevale, California. It's a suburb of Sacramento, and it's a beautiful place that just in that time was just, and I think even maybe a little bit now was still a little bit insulated. And yeah, I'm very sorry that kiddos don't get to grow up in a place where they're just kind of allowed to play and be kids. Yeah, Jojo, so sad that our youth is so desensitized. Yep. Deborah says, congratulations on the success. Thank you. Boombox was the one who mentioned the Kings. Ah, Boombox. That 2000, I remember that. I remember that pretty well. Yeah, the Kings were good there for a little while. Danielle meets the line. It makes no sense how he used a screwdriver to put the gun together, take it apart on the roof, leave the screwdriver on the roof, then get off roof and put it back together with what? Yeah, I think we're missing a lot of details. I think that's fair. Trad Mom says, you went to Mesa Verde. Well, we said Mesa Verde, right? But I have a hard time saying Mesa Verde. I was like, your Maverick went to Mesa Verde. You were one of the few schools we would play sports against. Graduated in 2003. I graduated in 93. Yeah. Mesa Verde. Oh my goodness. It just hurts my heart to say it that way, but that's how it's pronounced out there. You know, our daughter went to school her freshman year of college at a place spelled Buena Vista, but they pronounced it Buena Vista. Oh, it just hurts. Just hurts. Robin says, go ahead and share. Okay. Okay, we've got some, and Brenda says share. Trad Mom says we fled Orangevale in 2023 because of how crime ridden it became. Left the entire state actually in Idaho now. And we love it. We did the same thing. We went to Pennsylvania. We did it in 2017. Yeah, great comments, guys. Okay, let's head over to the next thing that I wanted to read for you guys. Let me see where it is, and then at the end, I think this will be the last one that I share. We're already at 45 minutes. All right, so what to know in the as Kirk shooting suspect awaits first court appearance. By the way, I think I'm open to moving back to California again. Maybe even Orangevale. I loved it. That was great. Anyway, the suspect in the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk is set to appear in court this week as authorities continue to investigate the motive in the apparent act of political violence. FBI Director Kash Patel said Monday that Tyler Robinson, 22, sent a text message before the fatal shooting saying that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and that I'm going to take it. FBI Deputy Director Bongino said that some of Robinson's friends and relatives said he had become more political before the shooting. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said over the weekend that Robinson has not confessed to authorities or cooperated with the investigation since he turned himself in on Thursday night. And you know what? If any of us are in, please, none of us be in a similar situation, okay? We're not those people. We're not going to do that. But if you're in a situation where you're being investigated by the police, the best thing to do is just zip it. So this 34 ACT scorer is still intelligent. He is not cooperating, according to the governor. The killing of Kirk, a divisive figure and close ally of President Donald Trump, during a public appearance at a Utah university, it was Utah Valley University, Wednesday, sent shockwaves across the nation. Vice President J.D. Vance hosted the Charlie Kirk Show on Monday afternoon as a tribute. The suspect is to be formally charged in a court appearance Tuesday. Robinson is set to make his first court appearance on Tuesday in Provo, Utah, where authorities are expected to formally charge him. He was taken into custody after a 33-hour manhunt that included local law enforcement agencies and the FBI. He is being held without bail. Excuse me, just one second. I felt a yawn going on, and guys, I'm well rested today. I'm well rested. I need to not do that. Okay. He's being held without bail in a special housing unit at the Utah County Jail on suspicion of aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and discharge of a weapon causing serious bodily harm. The count of aggravated murder could lead to a capital felony charge, which is punishable under Utah law by the death penalty or life in prison. There's a memorial service planned for Kirk on Sunday in Arizona. Okay, the suspect has leftist ideology, Utah's governor says, but motive remains unclear. Cox said that the motive behind Kirk's killing is not yet known, but that authorities think the suspect has I'm going to say a radical ideology, like leftist ideology. And again, radicalism isn't okay on either side unless, and this is the only exception that I can think of as far as radicalism being acceptable, unless it's 1990 or 1988, you're on a skateboard in a pool, then radicalism, you should go full rad. That you should do, but political radicalism, no. Robinson is registered as an unaffiliated voter while his parents are registered Republicans, according to state voter records. Speaking on NBC News' Meet the Press on Sunday, Cox said Robinson's relatives told investigators that he had very different political views than those of his conservative family, though he did not provide further details. Once a straight-A student, Robinson appeared to have been radicalized after dropping out of Utah State University, according to Cox. Cox said Robinson had been living with a romantic partner who was shocked to learn about the shooting and has been cooperating with authorities. The governor said the partner, who investigators think had no prior knowledge of the shooting, is transitioning from male to female. He said authorities could not say whether these details were relevant to the investigation, adding that he wanted to be careful about drawing connections to the suspect's motive. Again, okay, Patel was on Fox News. Well, let's see. Is this a little different? In a Monday interview with Fox and Friends, Patel said that evidence of Robinson's alleged text message about Kirk had been destroyed, but that investigators were able to recover its context from steps taken at the apartment Robinson shared with his roommate and romantic partner. Bongino, in a separate Fox News interview Monday, said agents were still working to determine whether the person who received that text thought it was some kind of joke, some type of joke. Again, that's really tough. That's really tough. And in a spirit of trying to learn, how would I respond? How would you respond? It's tough to know. There appear to have been multiple warning signs, Bongino said. He alleges that Robinson was just intent. It appears from the data that we've accumulated that his target was going to be Charlie. Patel said DNA samples from the screwdriver and the towel, blah, blah, blah. Kirk was highly regarded among conservative, Trump's base. Commenters on Kirk's death were fired, put on leave. That has also happened. Others call for civility and de-escalation of political rhetoric. I would join in that for sure. As the United States appears to have entered an era of heightened political violence, many are calling for a de-escalation of rhetoric as well as civility and discourse. If it were up to me, I think you need to take the word radical and remove right or left, said Senator John Curtis, Republican, Utah, in an interview with ABC News this week. Radical coming from any direction is not good. It's not healthy, and it should be called out. I 100% agree. Democrat Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary under President Joe Biden, said on NBC News' Meet the Press that the categories that matter in responding to this killing are not left and right or MAGA and Democrats. I think the only category that really matters is helping or hurting, he said. Well, good on Mayor Pete, Secretary Pete. Good on him. And good on everybody who's calling for de-escalation. I think that's important. Okay, so that's all I've got today. Tomorrow we will be we will be hopping on as quickly as we can once we have the charging document. And if there is, if the court appearance is public, I will be following that too. We will stay on that. Okay, so that's all I've got on Charlie Kirk. But let's go to your comments, and then I will not forget. I will not forget that we are going to read what I wrote. Let's see. Trad Mom. You said it the right way. Haha, yeah. Buena Vista. It's the worst. You can't say Buena Vista. That is, it's just painful. It's just painful. Let's talk disabilities. Do we know what the boyfriend corresponding means? Like what specifically he has said? We've only heard characterizations of what was said. We don't know what it was. Hopefully that is on the charging document. Valerie, in the 70s, we got to be kids, and I'm not sure how we managed to survive to adulthood with the playgrounds we had and the stunts we created for fun. Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many ramps we made, and we would lay children down and jump over the children. We do that a lot. Oh my goodness, that is funny. That is funny. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 1975. So really it was the late 80s and early 90s that was my coming of age time. But yeah, that was a great time to come of age. Layla says it's wicked rad. Wicked rad. There's somebody I'm not sure. I'm not really following. I was on. I was on Courtroom Confidential with Josh Ritter. That was the last appearance that I made. I had Joel with Surviving the Survivor on pretty recently. We need to have Elizabeth Jones back. Need to have her back. We love Elizabeth. But okay, let me read for you. And bring it up. All right. Let me give you some backstory before we really get into this, and I'm gonna. Okay, the company that I work for is called EYT Media, and we publish in Venango County, Clarion County, and Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. Also, Cook Forest, Pennsylvania, we publish in, though that's mostly tourism, not really news. So I wrote this as a mental health piece for myself. Let me just give you a backstory real quick. I told you a couple of days ago I had a good friend who passed away in 2022 after a bout with cancer, and Eric was a good friend. Like, he was a good friend, and he had many friends. I wasn't, you know, I was one that was fortunate to share a friendship from childhood, right? From when we were in high school. But Eric was a friend to everybody. And it was impossible to fall out of touch with Eric because he would really back in. He'd call you. He'd want to know how you're doing. When in the couple of times where we've lived outside of California, he would reach out and say, "Hey, next time you're in town, stop by." That he was just a very, very good friend, and his dad came by. Well, the long story is that his dad, whose name is Paul, lost his son and his wife the same year, 2022. It was a very hard year for Paul. Last year, I heard from Eric's sister that Paul was going to be in Pittsburgh because he was going to every major league ballpark, and he was watching a game in Eric's honor, and he was clandestinely, let's say, scattering ashes of Eric in all of the major league ball fields, which was perfectly Eric. Eric was a diehard Oakland A's fan, but more than that, he was really a fan of the game. So when Paul was in Pittsburgh, I took our two sons and we went and watched the game with them and had a really good time. And then he came up later and spent some time here in town. We live in Western Pennsylvania, not really that close to Pittsburgh, but close enough. And anyway, so Paul has been to our house before, and I love Paul. Like, I've known him since. In fact, it feels weird to call him Paul. He was always Mr. Nelson, right? But I figure at the age of 49, I should be okay to do it. Anyway, about a month ago, I got a text from Mr. Nelson, and he asked if he could come by. And he was on a trip. His previous trip to honor Eric was what brought him out the first time. What brought him out the second time was a trip to honor his late wife. And I won't go into those details because they're his details, and they're less public than his. I don't need that anymore. With his trip to honor Eric. Anyway, so he came by and we spent a couple hours together, and it was awesome. Just kind of visiting in the house, just talking about old times and just having a good time. But for the last several weeks, I have not been able. I just don't like my hair, guys. I haven't been able to get out of this little nostalgic rut, and So I decided that I was going to try to do so by writing about it. Hopefully make it would be cathartic, right? Mooney, what he's saying, Mooney is saying, saw your Pirates on Saturday in DC. Well, good old Buccos. They've been beating the pants off my dad's Dodgers. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Mooney. Buccos, go Buccos. My daughter loves the Pirates. Anyway, I thought I'd write about it, and hopefully I would find a little bit of catharsis and maybe some I don't know, relief. So I'll read it to you guys. This, by the way, is a picture of me at the age of 17, probably, with my other late friend, Ingrid, who was awesome. Okay, I titled it, Life is Good, so why am I stuck looking back? Even with a good life in the present, nostalgia can pull you deep into the past and refuse to let go. Okay, life is good. Really good. I have a family I love who loves me back. I have the best wife a man could ever hope for. Our children are healthy and turning into terrific adults. I have a day job here at EYT that I enjoy. It's the kind of work that makes me feel useful and challenged at the same time. My YouTube channel is thriving, something I never expected when I first started posting videos. On paper, everything is exactly as I would want it to be. So why am I stuck looking back? Let me blow this up for you guys so you can see it a little better. I don't know. Is that better? Okay. I've been feeling waves of nostalgia more than usual. Not the quick kind that comes when you smell something that reminds you of your grandmother's kitchen. Those moments happen to me all the time, and they're usually short-lived. I might fall into a delightful little memory pit for 15 or 20 minutes, thinking about old friends, lessons learned along the way, or the years I spent growing up in Northern California. I might think about the first time I jumped off Rainbow Bridge into the American River. But then it passes. I go on with my day. I usually with a little more of a smile on my face than before. Then I posted, this is a picture of a day where we went out to Rainbow Bridge, which is a bridge. Basically, it's not between Orangevale and Folsom, California. I think it's technically all in Folsom, but basically there's the Orangevale side, there's the Folsom side, and it's been there for 100 years, and it's really tall, and it's fun to jump off of it, and it's illegal to jump off of, but we would do that as kids. In fact, the reason that I have a picture of this is that Eric was down on the ground taking pictures of us for yearbook. We were all in yearbook together. And then here on the left is me and Ingrid. I was trying to convince her to come up and jump off with us, and she wouldn't do it. Oh my goodness. She was the best. Okay. This round hasn't been like that. Instead of a quick visit, nostalgia has settled in like an uninvited house guest who doesn't seem in a hurry to leave. It's been heavier, sharper, less like a passing mood, and more like a constant presence. The kind of thing you carry around with you, even when you're busy with work, family, and all the daily obligations that usually keep you grounded. The question I keep circling back to is why? Why now, when life is full and good, am I so pulled into the past? Why does every memory feel stickier? Every face from childhood clearer in my mind. Every old story tugging harder at me than it used to. I think it started after the recent visit from the father of my old friend Eric. Eric died of cancer in 2022. I wasn't able to make it back to Sacramento for Eric's funeral. Maybe part of what I'm feeling now is guilt about that. His sister, who's always been a steady presence, graciously streamed the service from her phone so those of us living far away could attend virtually. It was thoughtful and kind, 100% on brand for her, but watching on a screen is never the same as being there, standing shoulder to shoulder with old friends, saying goodbye together. It was a beautiful service, by the way. Eric's dad was on a coast-to-coast trip just last month and called to see if he could stop by. The answer was yes, of course. This is a picture of us that we took in Eric's dad's office. All of us were photo nerds, and I think Eric's little sister's Girl Scout troop needed a fundraiser, and we offered to do portraits. And while it was up, in fact, at the time, I think both Eric and I worked in portrait studios. That was our like minimum wage job. So that's me on the left, our friend Matt in the middle, and Eric on the right. This would be 1994. And we were all dressed up. I was getting ready to go to Argentina at this time. So I had my nice new suit. Okay. This time, though, when he stopped in, the visit left me unsettled. After he left, I found myself sinking into memories of Eric. We'd gone to the same school since freshman year, but only really connected in the photo lab one day after school, our junior year. I'd like to say I was working on a class assignment, but that probably wasn't the case. I was addicted to photography, and the lab was my fix. Eric was developing photos for a yearbook competition. Casa Roble High School at the time was kind of a powerhouse for publishing really high-end award-winning yearbooks, and Eric did win an award for the 1992 competition in photography. A national award. He was impressive. After he left, I found myself sinking into memory. Oh, let's see, I already said that. Blah, blah, blah. After spending a few days getting to know each other, Eric invited me to join the yearbook staff for the following year. He was slated to be the photo editor, and he thought I might like it. I accepted. From there, we became good friends. Thinking about Eric led me to think about Ingrid, the editor-in-chief of our high school yearbook. I didn't really know Ingrid until I joined the yearbook staff our senior year. She had a calm determination about her. She had patience for all the teasing that happened and never seemed rattled. She was easy to love. That's one of my favorite sayings, by the way. One of the things that descriptions, when a person is just so easy to love, that might be my highest compliment. She was the best. Years later, our kids ended up in the same gymnastics class, and my wife came home one day and said, I met one of your old friends today. It was Ingrid. We reconnected, but not for long. Definitely not long enough. She died of breast cancer in 2013. 2 friends gone, both from cancer. My dad, by the way, has been fighting lymphoma for the past 6 years. And my birthday is creeping closer, the big 5-0. Mortality is no longer something abstract, it's right there, sitting across the dinner table, showing up in memories of when our kids were little, staring me in the face every time I call to check in on my folks. This is that same Disneyland trip that we took as a yearbook crew when we went to compete. So Eric's here in red. I'm here with the sunglasses. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see me. All these friends are really close friends. Julie, I'll talk about here in a second. Here's Ingrid down here. Just awesome. Awesome group of kids, every one of them. Nick, this guy, good kid. Maureen, Christy, and Bob. Her name is Clarissa, but Eric called her Bob, so I don't know that I've ever called her anything but Bob. Mark up here, just Sean Reimer, Nate, all just such good kids. Okay. Feeling weighed down, I decided I needed to talk to somebody. I messaged the wife of another old friend, Matt, picture up above, on Facebook. He doesn't use the platform, but she does. I asked if she'd be comfortable Giving me his number, she said yes and added that he'd be glad to hear from me, so I called him. 2 hours on the phone vanished. His voice was exactly the same, carrying that mix of thoughtfulness and humor that made him stand out even back then. We talked about Eric and Ingrid. We talked about our families. We talked about how fast 3 decades had gone. It was therapy without the copay. Though he was a couple of years though he was a couple of years younger than Eric and me, Matt always had a way of being the wise one. He'd sit there, observing everything, quiet until he wasn't. When he spoke, it was sharp, like he'd been writing the scene in his head before saying the line out loud. He was also a goof, of course. We were kids, but he was our George. Eric was Paul. Ingrid, I guess, was John, and that left me as Ringo. Only I wasn't really Ringo. The real me was shy and terrified, but I figured out how to camouflage myself as outgoing, so to everyone else, I looked like the social butterfly, the loud kid in the middle of everything, friends with everybody, always cracking jokes. That wasn't me, though. That was my well-crafted facade. Underneath, I was the nerdy knockoff Ringo, who didn't even know how to wear the suit right, but wore it anyway. Matt knows me, not the disguise. Me. By the way, there are several others who know me. Kimberly knows me very well. I would hope so, but she was one of very few early on who was able to see right through me, and there are a few others as well. Matt's definitely one of those. At one point, he brought up the car I used to drive. I nearly dropped the phone laughing. The car was my parents' 1990s model Ford Festiva, which is probably the most bare bones vehicle ever sold. Manual transmission, no radio, no power anything. I think it had air conditioning, though in Sacramento summers, that was less a luxury than survival gear. We called the car Squid because of its diminutive size, and then, with bravado only teenage boys can muster, declared it a babe magnet, so it became Squid, the Babe Festiva, and there's our little Squid, 1993 Ford Festiva. He was awesome. Then one day I drove over a piece of cardboard that got caught under the car. We stopped, picked it up, stuck it in the back to recycle later. From then on, the car became Squid, the Earth-conscious Babe Festiva. Then I installed a stereo, installed being a generous word for what I did with a pull-out deck and a lot of electrical tape. The car shook whenever the bass hit. So, of course, the name grew into Squid, the reverberating, earth-conscious Babe Festiva. It was the most embarrassing car I've ever... Hey, my editor changed that. I wrote loved, not owned. I didn't own the car. I loved that car. My editor. Crap, man. Okay, and here was Matt pulling the whole ridiculous title out of memory as if no time had passed. That's the magic of old friends. They remember the same dumb details you thought you'd forgotten. We also talked about Julie. Julie was on the yearbook staff with us too. She was beautiful in the way that made it painful for the teenage version of me to look at her for too long. I'd sneak glances and then quickly look away, afraid my face would give me up. She was funny, sharp, and a good sport. She had that Ingrid quality of handling all the nonsense that came with Hurricane Gavin without letting it bother her. Asking Julie out was out of the question. She had the distinction of being the most beautiful creature upon which my gaze had fallen in all of my 17 long years of life, and the thought of her rejecting me was unbearable. But there she was, looking like a Carpenter's lyric, and I didn't want to find myself an old man, like 30 or something, having never taken the shot. When I finally worked up the courage to ask her out, it felt like climbing Everest. Somehow I pushed past my nerves, said the words, and waited for the floor to open under me. And then, against all odds, she said yes. Where did I take her? Disney on Ice. That was my big idea. I don't know why. I think I saw it in an ad in the newspaper and thought, maybe she'll like that. It's hard to write this now without wanting to crawl under the desk. There's a picture of Julie and me getting ready to go to Ingrid's wedding. Ingrid got married pretty quickly out of school. It was a beautiful, beautiful set of circumstances that led to that. you can see that I'm writing a card. And when I get to Julie's house to pick her up, she has gotten this card. She's like, hey, sign this card. But don't put best wishes because everybody puts best wishes. That's just dumb. Just find something else to say. So I sat at their dining room table for way too long trying to find something besides best wishes that I could write. And I hemmed and hawed and I considered it. I don't even remember what I wrote, but I wrote it and I signed my name Gavin and I expected Julie to sign her name next to mine. And she grabs the card and goes, best wishes, Julie. It was so funny. I still laugh about that. It was so funny. Oh my goodness. So funny. Okay. Getting back to that Disney on Ice date. Oh my goodness. The entire night I was caught between exuberance that she'd actually said yes and the fear of what came next. I wanted to kiss her, but every time I thought about it, the risk felt too high. I'd already climbed Everest. A kiss would have been like sprinting back to base camp and climbing the whole thing again without oxygen. I froze. Appropriate, I guess, considering the Himalayan metaphor. Julie was gracious. She always was. I don't know if she remembers that day, but I do. I remember it both as a triumph and a mischance. And that's how nostalgia works, isn't it? You remember the victories and the failures side by side. They sting, but they also warm you. Talking to Matt, laughing about cars and awkward dates, remembering Eric and Ingrid, it was medicine. Old friends are medicine. They prove your past isn't locked away in your head, that the stories you carry belong to others too, and that someone else remembers them with the same fondness, the same embarrassment, the same weight. After the call, I felt better, but still couldn't shake the grip nostalgia has on me right now. Part of it's obvious. Eric is gone, Ingrid is gone, my dad is fighting for his life, and I'm about to turn 50. That will make almost anybody reach back for a time when life felt endless. However, it's not only the personal stuff. The times we're living through make fond memories feel like safe houses. In 2025 alone, there have already been 3 political assassinations in our country and 2 more attempts. That's not normal. It's frightening, and it shakes your sense of stability. When the present feels unpredictable, the past can look like the only place that makes sense. I started looking for written help for how I'm feeling and came across an article in Wondermind that explained nostalgia in a way that clicked for me. It said nostalgia often surfaces in tough times because it's comforting. And it pointed out that nostalgia is shareable. That's why TV reboots and throwbacks work, because they tap into collective memories that we can connect over. This, by the way, is the Gavin and Kimberly Fish family. I think this is now 2 Christmases ago in our living room. Reading that helped me see why this nostalgia isn't going away quickly. It's feeding on 2 things at once: my personal milestones and grief, and the bigger instability of the world right now. That's a powerful mix. The Wondermind article gave a few ways to handle it, which is important because nostalgia can sour. It can make the present feel dull or disappointing by comparison. If you let it, it can trick you into believing life was better then and can never be as good again. The advice was straightforward. If nostalgia leaves you unhappy, use it as motivation to make changes now. Think about what you miss and why. If you're remembering a job where you felt less stressed, maybe it wasn't the job itself, but the manager you had or the freedom you felt. These are things that you can look for in your current position, or if they aren't possible, you can decide to move on. Nostalgia can be a diagnostic tool pointing to what matters most to you. The article also suggested gratitude. If you can't tie your nostalgia to something specific, try writing 3 things you're thankful for each morning. Small things count, like an evening bike ride, listening to a good song, or getting a text from a friend. Gratitude shifts your focus to the present instead of leaving you stuck in the past. I'll add one more thing. Nostalgia can get heavy, especially when it's tied to grief or fear. If it feels like it's pulling you down instead of giving you perspective, talk to someone. Call a friend, call a sibling, or call a professional. For me, nostalgia isn't making me unhappy. I just kind of feel stuck in it right now. Life is good. I know it is. I can see it in my wife, our family, my work, and the things I get to do every day. I don't think I'm going to keep trying to fight it off. I'm just going to ride it until the wave. I'm sorry. I'm just going to ride the wave until it ends. Reaching out to old friends when I need a quick dose of medicine. This experience is reminding me that my past was full and that people and moments that shaped me are still part of who I am. It's proof that memory has weight, that connection doesn't disappear. If I'm stuck looking back, it means I've had something worth remembering. Yeah, I think I'll write it out. That's what I wrote. And actually, oh my goodness, it has been cathartic to get that out. And you know what else I did? Out of the I've several really good friends from childhood, but just speaking about one specific group, starting from that moment that I met Eric at the end of our junior year, all the way until I left for Argentina and then returned, there were 4 people that really meant the world to me, and they were Eric and Ingrid and Matt and Julie. Eric is gone. Ingrid is gone. I'm back in touch with Matt, and I can't find Julie, but I did find an address for her mom, so I full on licked a stamp, put it on an envelope, and wrote a letter today just reaching out because I thought it would feel good to be back in touch with them. Anyway, that's what I wrote. You guys have stuff you want me to read here? Let's see. Just gonna keep on scrolling until I get to the right place. Tina says, I feel so privileged to hear this. Well, I thank you, Tina. I really wrote it for me. I just needed to get out. Layla, thank you. I have to say specifically to Eric, I didn't really mourn all that much in the beginning. I just was really grateful for the time that we had, and he had been sick for so long that we all knew the time was coming. And when he died, I was grateful for his sweet release. Poor guy. But just in the last month, I think I've started my mourning period. I'm pretty sad about him. So thank you for saying that. Let's see. I'm just going to scroll past. Susan says she writes things she's grateful for every day. I don't, and I think I should. I'm mostly a happy person, though. That's the thing. It's just sometimes I'm sad about things. Tina says she absolutely loves it. Thanks for the hugs, Tina. Jojo says, thanks for sharing the article. Could really feel the emotion you poured into it. Great job. Sorry for your loss. Rest in peace, Eric and Ingy. And praying for your dad. Love the grateful part. Oh, you got that's awesome. Susan says, bravo. Thank you. Andrea says, during hard times like how our world is going right now, nostalgia really helps us knowing times have been easier. This was nice to hear. Thank you. You have a way with words. Well, thank you. I actually get that from my dad. Robin says, Gavin, maybe someday you can read my hospice piece. I would love to read your piece, Robin. I love, if, I never say this, but reading is probably my most exercised hobby. And mostly nonfiction. I haven't read a fiction piece. Let's see. I reread Don Quixote a couple years ago. And before that, it was The Hunger Games to read the same book that my kids were reading, right? Most of my stuff is nonfiction, and I love essays. I love opinion pieces. So I would love to read it. Send it my way in Slack, will you? Yeah, Jessica, I hear what you're saying. It's a little too political, but I thank you for the comment. And yeah, I think your comment is a reminder that we just need to be more loving and kind in the world. And we're all going to fall down at it. We're all going to fail at it sometimes, but we're also going to succeed at it a lot of times. So, yeah. And I'm going to keep on the Charlie Kirk thing because I think it's important. So if, I don't know, if you like this kind of content, come back around. Love to have you. Glad you were here. Hopefully I didn't bring you too far down with my little personal pit of nostalgia. I actually think writing that really helped, and then writing that letter that I sent today really felt good. So I might be coming out of it, which is great. You can't be all happy all the time, right? You can't really understand joy unless you understand pain. You can't know the good unless you understand the bad or have experienced it. And that is for me anyway, an undeniable truth of human nature. It's just who we are. All right, guys. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. I bid you adieu until the next one. And until then, I hope you take care of yourselves. Goodbye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.